Hey everybody, this is Daniel Patrick, and this is episode number 198 of the Mandolins and Beer podcast, brought to you in part by my favorite website, the Mandolin Cafe. Also brought to you in part by Acoustic Disc, where if you go to Acoustic Disc's website right now and sign up on their email list, they send you a free song known as the Treat of the Week every week. They also put out incredible material, and they have a great podcast with David Grisman and Danny Barnes called Acoustic Encounters. So head on over to Acoustic Disc and sign up today. Getting ready to head out to IBMA. I've got a whole bunch of new stuff. I've got some brand new shirts, Mandolin, Just Play It. I've got a bunch more of the trucker hats back in stock, and I've got some beanies with the Red Supreme Mandolin logo, and I think they look great, if I do say so myself. My daughter even thought they looked great, and she doesn't play mandolin. So yeah, those are great. I will post those for sale on the website once I get back from IBMA. I'm really looking forward to getting to IBMA. It's always an amazing time. Get to see some of my friends that I've made over the years and play music with a bunch of people. Some great music. Dog and Sam being nominated into the Hall of Fame. I don't believe Dog's going to be there, but Sam will be there, so that's going to be a good time. Speaking of good times, the Blue Highway Fest is coming up. I have emailed and contacted the people who have won tickets thus far, and we still have some more tickets to give away. Again, it is October 11th through the 14th in Virginia. If you can go, shoot me an email, and in the subject line, just say tickets. Or go to my social media on Instagram or Facebook and find the post for Blue Highway Fest and just put tickets under there. Be sure you follow me, and I will add you to the drawing. Big thank you to the folks at Blue Highway Fest for supplying tickets to the Mandolins and Beer listeners. That's amazing. Another great thing about IBMA is I get to see in person some of the sponsors who help put this podcast on every week. I'm so thankful for my sponsors and for listeners. I mean, it makes it possible every week to do this and get the mandolin word out in the community. I'm really stoked. One sponsor that won't be there, though, is Stringjoy. And you can order Stringjoy Strings, guitar or mandolin. And you can use the promo code Mandolin Beer at checkout and get 10% off. And Stringjoy, since they aren't going to be there, they did send me a box of goodies to give away. So stop by my booth, 620, and ask me for a set of Stringjoy strings. And if I still got some left, I'm going to give you a set. They also have stickers they sent along, too. So thank you to Stringjoy. And Peghead Nation. Let me tell you what about Peghead Nation. After spending a few days at that Monroe Mandolin camp, I went back and watched a bunch of Mike Compton's performances and lessons on there. And Mike's just one of many incredible, talented instructors. Sharon Gilchrist, Joe K. Walsh, John Reichman, Aaron Weinstein, Marla Fibers, Chad Manning, and Ian Curry. From beginner all the way up to Shoro. The courses include high-quality multi-angle video lessons, downloadable notation and tab, play-along tracks, and plenty of tunes and songs to play. Best part is you can join any of Peghead Nation's video courses now. Get your first month for free. Just go to pegheadnation.com, use the promo code MandolinBeer, all one word, at checkout, and start your courses. Northfield Mandolins, let's build more than a mandolin together. Check out their website at northfieldmandolins.com. Download their app at mandosummit.app for lots of special performance recordings, demonstrations, and special workshops. Tone Slabs, get yourself a slab of tone. They're going to be at IBMA. Check them out. I'm excited to take delivery of something very special when I get there from David and Frank. I love my tone slab pick. I say it every week. It's literally been the only pick I've used since I've gotten the first Darth tone. I love them. They sound great. They have all the shapes and sizes you would expect from picks, and they can customize them for you as well. So reach out to Tone Slabs by going to toneslabs.com or stop by the IBMA booth that they're at and visit them there. Pava Mandolins, dedicated to building for the impassioned player, right out of Austin, Texas. They are going to be at IBMA again this year. Be sure to stop by and see them. Also, Roger Siminoff won't be there, I'm actually going to have a copy. I'm going to bring along my copy of the Lloyd Lore book that Roger brought because, again, words do not justify. You need to see it in person, and I will have a copy there if you want to check it out. It is incredible, and you can get that at siminoffbooks.com. And I'm super excited tonight. My buddies from Full Court are going to be playing, and they have a booth with Elderly Instruments. And the Elderly Instruments is your trusted source for new, used, and vintage fretted and stringed instruments. For the experienced beginner player, their vast selection of mandolins, guitars, banjos, ukuleles, and did I say mandolins? Includes all of the accessories and books to go with them. All instruments are inspected and set up for easy playability, and their down-to-earth and knowledgeable staff are there to help. They're in their 51st year. They're family-owned and operated. They ship worldwide. You can visit them anytime at elderly.com or at IBMA. And also, Keith from Picky Fingers, we're going to be co-sponsoring a Henhouse Prowlers room with them. And so I'm excited for that, too. So again, if you're at IBMA, this is coming on Friday. I'll have been there since Tuesday. Hopefully, I've already met you and seen you, but if you're listening to this and you're just going to be there for the weekend, please stop by and say hello. And let's get into the episode here. My buddy Mike Guggino. One of the awesome things of this podcast is I've got to become friends with so many of the players, and Mike has just become a really good pal, and he's one of the nicest guys and just an incredible player. And every time I get to talk to him or get a text from him, it just makes my day better. So Mike is great. The new Steep Canyon Rangers album. I mean, if you're a fan of Steep Canyon Rangers, obviously, I don't even need to tell you how great they are of a band. Killer songs always. This one is no exception. They got their new singer, guitar player, Aaron, is a great addition to the band. So let's get into this episode with Mike from Steep Canyon, and you guys have yourselves a fantastic week. Cheers, everybody.
Sometimes the path is dark and narrow, with briars and branches closing in. Can't see on to where you're going, can't turn back to where you've been.
All right, man, it is my pleasure to welcome back to the podcast Mike Guggino. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Daniel. How are you?
Doing good, man. It's so good to talk to you again. I got to see you in May at Birdfest with Steep Canyon Rangers. You guys played 2 incredible sets, and this new incredible album out, man. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, we're real excited about the new record. It's going pretty well, and Birdfest is it's a new festival, kind of. It's sort of it's interesting. It is new, but it's not. Barrett, our bass player, has been putting that on for years, but it was sort of almost like a private party, and now it's like it moved locations to a bigger location, and they're getting bigger bands, and man, we were glad to have you there as the MC last year, for sure.
So fun, even though it's concussed.
Yeah. Well, you weathered it well. Nobody could tell. You did a good job.
Well, thank you so much. Also, last time since we've talked on the podcast, you are a new father.
That's right. Yeah, I have a 9-month-old son who I just got down for his afternoon nap so I can do this interview with you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's great. It's awesome.
Well, this new album, is there anything, actually, before we talk about the brand new album, anything going on? I know you've been still doing some of the Italian mandolin gigs or the Italian music gigs. Any more of that coming up by the end of the year?
Yeah. Actually, Barrett and I just played a show in Asheville, or just outside of Asheville, in Candler, North Carolina, which is just kind of in the outskirts of Asheville. Had a great show out there. And then we're doing our yearly Italian night concert in Brevard at the Brevard Music Center. There's a small performing arts space there called the Parker Concert Hall, and they have a series they do of concerts all winter, and we're a part of that. And we do it every December, and we always bring in a special guest. And this year we're bringing back Carlo Onzo.
Oh, no way!
He came to Brevard, I think, in 2019. And did the very first one with us then, and so we're glad that he can come back this year. It's going to be great.
Oh man, that is great. It was great too. We were sitting on your bus and you're playing mandolin, and I was kind of talking about what you were working on, and you were just playing some Italian stuff for me, and you're kind of like, that's when you sit down now. That's it's kind of like what you work on, and you can tell it's just so beautiful sounding.
Yeah, one of the, I guess we've talked, I can't remember the last time we talked on the podcast. I think it's been a couple years now. It was probably right after 2020. just being off the road with the band, with the Rangers for a couple years, it definitely gave me time to like kind of dig into that music in a way that I hadn't had the chance before, and I got a different mandolin for it now. I don't play my F5 when I play that kind of music. I'm playing it's a Vega cylinder back or lute style mandolin. Is what they call them. I don't know if you've seen one of those. Have I shown you that?
You did,
mandolin?
yes.
I couldn't remember if you were around when I had it, but yeah, and so I kind of and Barrett and I, of course, made a record in 2020 finally, and yeah. So when I sit down to practice a lot of the time, I'm spending on that music, because you could spend a lifetime trying to play that stuff.
Right. And you just did, somebody I just had on, and was it Harry Clark maybe? Did you do a mandolin camp with Harry Clark this past year, possibly?
Yeah, I think we did Gray Fox.
Yeah. And he was like, man, that guy can play the Monroe stuff. It kind of surprised him, I think, because he didn't know, he knows you from Steep Canyon Rangers. He was like, holy cow, man.
That's awesome. Harry, it's the first time I'd met Harry, and he is such a great player, and what a nice guy too. And that was a fun workshop. And I think he was saying that, he was kind of getting into the Monroe style stuff more than he had in the past. Maybe he had kind of been more into the modern style players, and he's really been digging into the Monroe stuff lately. So we had a good time talking about that at the workshop.
This new album, Morning Shift, is just incredible. I love how much, I love all your albums, but I really love, you're a great, hook player, so many mandolin parts in all this album in a way that you wouldn't think of a mandolin per se. It's filled with tons of them.
Well, thanks. And a lot of that is just based on the songwriting and the style of music we're playing now. I would say a lot of the stuff on this record, Graham is playing an electric banjo, which is not, it doesn't sound like a banjo at all. It sounds like an electric guitar. And Darryl Scott produced the record. He's playing electric guitar on it. And there's just a lot of songs that aren't like a 2-beat sort of traditional bluegrass groove, if you will. And, a lot of it requires me to think about the mandolin in a different way, not in such a bluegrass way. Obviously, I'm not just chopping chords or anything like that and playing a break after the second verse and chorus or something like that. It's different. It's a little bit more nuanced than that. And yeah, a lot of it's thinking in terms of a little hook or a little melodic line here that supports the vocal or sets up the chorus, or there's a bridge or something that needs a little melodic part. So yeah, it's fun. It's been fun to sort of rethink how I play the mandolin with the band over the last, 5 or 6 years at least.
And there's no lack of mandolin. Again, with all that instrumentation, the mandolin is present through the whole thing, which is hard to do in a band with drums. I mean, a mandolin can get buried by a lot of things, especially, when you start bringing electric instruments in the mix, it's
for sure.
But
yeah,
every one of your albums does a great job. This is no different, a great job of mixing, and just everything's got its spot. Just the way it kicks off actually on Hominy Valley. And it almost sounds like a very roomy, the mandolin kicks it off, and it's a really cool roomy tone before the song comes in.
Tracking General Rutherford's march through the Swananoa Hill. The Yanks got wise and poison came to Creek, and one of them braves got killed. Barry's sitting neath an oak tree, sitting up so we can keep his watch over Hominy Valley. I think he's watching me.
Well, and that's because we recorded this record. So we actually recorded it not in a recording studio at all. There's a place called the Inn at Batcave. Batcave is not the Batcave like Batman. It's like a place just outside of Asheville and Brevard, where we live in North Carolina. And it's a beautiful, beautiful spot near Chimney Rock, if people have heard of that, maybe. But there's this bed and breakfast, basically, and we just rented the whole space for a week in January of this year. And Daryl came over from Nashville, and we came over, and Dave Cinco was the engineer. And the reason that we could do it this way is because Dave Cinco is so brilliant that he can actually make a recording studio basically anywhere you want to make a recording studio. So he brought a van full of gear to the Inn at Batcave, and we basically turned the great room, this giant wooden room, when you walk in the front door, we turned that into like the main recording space, and we put down rugs, and he treated the room and, you know, figured out where all the mics needed to go. And we basically were in a circle, all, you know, the banjo, the mandolin, the guitar, and the upright bass, we were all in the same room. And then the drums were downstairs. And then Nikki was in just a room adjacent to the great room, just for the bleed of the fiddle. So we were largely in a circle, you know, in the same room recording that way. And all the vocals were done in the great room around one mic. And it was a really challenging and fun way to make a record. And like I said, Dave Cinco is a brilliant engineer and a wonderful guy. And he was great to work with, and he did a fantastic job making this record sound the way it does, and making those acoustic instruments work together with the drums and the electric guitar and the electric banjo and sit right in there, and everything has its space. It's not fighting for space from another instrument. Yeah, he's great.
When you guys have these songs, because there's lots of arranging done on these songs. These songs don't sound like, you know, like, hey, here's a song, we're just going to play it. You know, it sounds like there's a lot of thought put into it. What's kind of the process on some of these songs? Like, again, like some of those hooks, it's really well thought out and just adds to the tunes. There's no distractions in these songs, yet there's so much going on. It's kind of like when you watch a movie that you really like and you catch something different every time. That's what this album reminds me of.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, some of that is stuff that we had sort of, you know, we've been working on these songs for some of them for a long time, and some of them were sort of new. You know, Aaron Burdett joined our band in July of 2022. So, you know, he'd not even been in the band for a year, and we recorded some of his songs. So that we definitely knew those the least, but some of the songs Graham had written, we had been working on for a while. But then there was a few that we just went to the studio with Daryl, and we just put the arrangement together right there, you know, sitting around in the room together. And that was really, again, it can be challenging, but that spontaneity can really make for some magic and some special moments. And, you know, maybe if you had the time to overthink about something, you could arrange it into the ground.
Right.
You know, but we always say, don't gild the lily. You know, it's like sometimes a song just needs a really simple treatment, and some of the songs are real complex and have these really complex arrangements, and that's what that song needed, you know. And Daryl was definitely sort of the captain of the ship, and we all respect him and trusted him, and it was a great experience.
What are some of the mandolin highlights for you? I mean, the whole album's so good, but there's got to be a couple things that you're kind of like, you know, I'm really happy with that.
Well, I mean, I guess one would be the instrumentals that I wrote on the record. It's an instrumental medley. It's one track. It's three songs with two instrumentals that I wrote and one that Graham wrote, so that we sort of mashed together, almost like an Irish fiddle melody or something like that. Daryl was very insistent when we were speaking to him before we went into the studio just about the record and what we wanted the record to be. And, you know, he was like, I know you guys don't think you're a bluegrass band anymore. And a lot of people don't think you're a bluegrass band anymore, but you're wrong and they're wrong. You're definitely a bluegrass band. And one of the things that you guys are good at and you should have on your records is an instrumental. You know, because we didn't have an instrumental on Arm in Arm, and which was the record before this that came out in 2020. And I didn't think we were going to have an instrumental on this record either. I hadn't written anything, and Graham hadn't written anything, and we had a lot of singing songs. I mean, we had like 20 something songs that we laid in front of Daryl, and we're like, here's, you know, and which is great, you know, because we have all these great songwriters in the band. But you can only record 10 or 12, you know, and so, you know, there's stuff's going to get chopped, and it just didn't seem like there was going to be enough room on the record for an instrumental. So I was really surprised when he said that. He's like, no, I want an instrumental, and, you know, it should be original, you know. And I was like, okay, well, it's, you know, we've got maybe 2 months before we actually started the session. And I wrote the third piece of the 3-song medley maybe a week before we went into the studio.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then the first one, the Old Stone House, I'd actually written about 10 years ago, and we had never recorded it. And it was it's a slow minor key waltz, sort of a lonesome moonlight waltz type song. And it's a song that I'd written years ago, but we never recorded, but we did play it at our shows as an intro into one of our singing songs called Call the Captain. And we do that a lot in our live shows. We'll use little instrumental pieces of music to sort of segue from one singing song to the next, so the music doesn't stop. And then, you know, it can just be like a couple musicians on stage at a time, you know, so like that would always just be me and Nikki, mandolin and fiddle, doing that little instrumental segue while the other guys tuned or got a different position or whatever. And then we would kick off the next song. And so that was a song that we'd had for years. But it was nice to record it. And that's the first of the 3, the Old Stone House. And then Handlebars was a banjo tune Graham had written. And then Chimney Rock was the song that I wrote right before we went into the studio. And we had all 3 of those. And Daryl said, why don't you mash them together? Like figure out a way to like segue one right into the next, like a fiddle medley, you know, in Celtic music or something. And I thought it came out really nice.
Great minor songwriter.
Yeah, I think the minor key thing, maybe that's comes from playing the Italian music. You know, there's a lot. Obviously, there's a lot of the mazurkas and polkas and waltzes are in minor keys, and I love it. That I have a tune I wrote called Knob Creek that was on one of our earlier records, and I'll never forget we were out in California and playing with a David Grisman. I guess it was the trio. It was Danny Barnes and his son Sam on bass, and Dog. And we had him sit in on our show and play Knob Creek. And I leaned over to Dog and I said, "It's in G minor," and he said, "I invented G minor." And I said, "Yeah, yes, you did."
Yes, you did. Oh,
Yes, you did.
that's so funny, man. So this is so you talked about a couple things earlier here too, the break in 2020. And you dove into Italian music, but Woody sounds like kind of it just was like the road really wasn't for him any longer.
Yeah, a lot of people during that time were home more than they'd been home for any kind of, not just music, obviously, but for any profession. And we certainly had not been home for that amount of time. It was almost 2 years, really, that we were off the road. And yeah, Woody, when we started playing shows again, kind of at the beginning of 2022. I think it was January or February. In that spring, he came to, I think he talked to Graham first, and he came to me and he said, I don't want to do this anymore. I feel like I need to be home with my family and do other things. And so we had to find somebody to take his place on guitar and vocals. And that's what led us to Aaron Burdett, who's in the band now, singing and playing guitar. I don't think we could have found a better person in every way to fill. Nobody's going to replace Woody. Woody is he's one of a kind, and we knew we didn't want somebody just to come in and try to be like Woody. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
Have the same voice or the same style. Like we wanted that person just to be who they were and be comfortable with who they were. And obviously fit with us in a way that works musically and personally too. That was another, that was probably scarier to us than the musical side. It was like, we could probably find a lot of guitar players and singers that could do this, but finding a person that you live with on the road and the bus and on the planes and in the hotels and in the recording studio, could be harder to find. And it's really worked out great with Aaron. He's a great musician. He's a great songwriter, and he's a great guy. He's similar age to us and has kids and family like we do. And we're all just kind of on the same page. So it's been a great transition.
I would imagine then recording this album, this is probably, you guys have a lot of recordings, but I would got to say it's got to be close to one of the most important kind of albums, because you had to go out there like anything. He was such a integral part of the band, and it was totally just the road's hard, and so it wasn't anything like that. But it was like, it's still got to be like, man, we got to bring this new guy in, and I can't imagine you probably had to feel like approve a little bit of something with this record.
No, absolutely. I feel like in the last year we've had to sort of, prove to people or show people that we're still the same band that we've always been in many ways. And yes, we've changed a little bit. Obviously we've changed personnel. We've changed personnel before too, though. Barrett has only been in the band for 6 years on bass, and Mike Ashworth's only been in the band since 2013, I think. And we've been a band for almost 25 years now. So having a change in the band isn't that different, but this was a significant change because Woody was such a lead singer on a lot of the stuff. And so that was a challenge. But, one thing we did is it wasn't just Aaron coming in and replacing like the vocal load that Woody had. It was kind of all of us stepping up and saying, okay, what can we all do to fill in the void musically, and professionally too, off stage too, with business things like that. Because Woody was a big part of running the band's business. He has that type of mind of thinking about the business side of things too. And he's doing a lot of that now that he's not in our band anymore. But we, so yes, Aaron came in, but like Barrett has taken on a lot of the vocal parts that Woody used to sing too. So it's been kind of Barrett and Aaron, replacing him as a singer at least, So now in our show, it's like Graham, Barrett, and Aaron, the three of them sort of switch off between sing and lead pretty evenly. And it can vary from night to night where one person sings more than the others. But, and it's like that on this new record, on Morning Shift, it's like, and Daryl was real adamant about that too. It's like, all right, here's a Graham vocal, here's a Barrett vocal, here's an Aaron vocal, here's an instrumental, and then there should be another Graham vocal, there should be another Barrett vocal, there should be another Aaron vocal, because that represents what the band is like now. The band has never been more. It's always been very democratic and sort of spread out in that way, but it's never not at this level, and so it really is like there's not a lead singer of the band type situation now. And we often say that's kind of how the band was, where it was like Levon would sing lead, and Rick Denko would sing lead, and Robbie would sing lead, and there wasn't like a set lead singer in that band, and that's definitely been an inspiration for us too with this new lineup.
It's great too because you have such strong songwriters as well. Because sometimes I find with sometimes with solo artists, especially they're like singer songwriters that I've really liked. Sometimes you get a great album, and sometimes you get a couple great songs on an okay album. But you guys got just the spoils in having a bunch of great songwriters and being able to choose from their best songs. I love Deep End.
Hung up the phone and I hit the ground running. Gotta jump like you want it when the good things are coming. Packed up my dirty laundry right off the floor, batten down the hatches and lock the front door. Bought a suit so I'd look real good and pointed out west toward Hollywood. I'm the guy who jumps in the deep end, find out quick if I'm sinking or swimming. Long ago threw caution to the wind, and I'm the guy who jumps in the deep end.
Aaron told the story about Deep End at the Bird Fest about his and it was just perfect. I'm like, this guy, the fact that he could take this incredible experience and put it into a song, and it's actually a really good song as well as a great story. Yeah, that's a win.
Yeah, and great songs often come from like true life experiences, and it's like sometimes that's easier than coming up with a story that's not, just fiction. It's like, this actually happened, and this is what's happening now, and I'm going to sing a song about it. Sometimes that can be, a really easy, simple way to approach a song. But man, I feel so lucky, and I always have, and I feel it more now than ever, to be in a band with so many great songwriters, because that's not what I do. I mean, I write instrumentals, I write music, but I don't write lyrics. And I'm so thankful. And I think that because I think that's been a big part of our success for all these years, like you said, are the songs, like they're great songs, and I can brag about them because I didn't write them. I help arrange them. I sing harmony. I write harmony parts. I write little hooks, or I suggest chord changes, and we do all that democratically. But I didn't write. I don't write the lyrics and the main part of the songs. These guys in the band do. They're great. They're great songwriters.
How long were you in the studio for this?
I think it was a solid week. It was a really cool way to make a record. We've talked about doing this for years, and this felt like the time. Just the energy all felt right for us to do it this way, this time, where we just don't go into a studio, but go to a destination away from everybody and everything, and just live in the same place and just make music until it's done, basically. And so it was cool. Like it was just us with Dave Cinco and Daryl Scott, just the band, and then the innkeepers, a husband and wife that run it, and they cook all the meals right there in house. And we literally would get up and eat breakfast together, go do a session, record until lunchtime, stop and eat lunch together, go back, work until dinner time, eat dinner together, maybe be done for the day. Maybe we all felt like we wanted to keep going, so we would, do another session, work late into the night, or we would maybe work on a song that wasn't finished and kind of get an arrangement together so that we could start the next morning, first thing on that song. So it was a submersive recording experience for sure.
Having been able to hang out with you guys and meet everybody in the band and talk to everybody in the band now, it really is amazing how well you guys get along. I mean, I know a few of the guys haven't been in as long, but the bond that you guys have, like especially watching like basketball after maybe on the bus, and just everybody's on the bus eating snacks, laughing. You guys have spent all day together, just played a great show together, and there's nobody like, I don't want to be around anyone. Everybody in the band's just sitting there hanging out, and it was just like being among family members, even more than a band. It was a blast.
Yeah, then that's kind of the way the band's always been. It's the way it started, back when we were in college. Like I said, I think it's almost, I want to say about 25 years ago that the band started. We were just friends in college. I grew up with Woody, and I grew up with Mike Ashworth, who's now in the band. Wasn't in the band when it started, but it's been in the band for 10 years. And, Mike was my best friend growing up in high school. And we had a band in high school together, not a bluegrass band, but a rock band. And and then Barrett and Graham went to UNC Chapel Hill together, went to college together. And, so they were just buddies. And Barrett and I have our side project that we do with the Italian music. And Mike and I play other kinds of gigs around Brevard and Asheville and do little things like that. And yeah, we're just friends that play music together. And I think that's been a good thing for us all these years, staying together, because half of it's just managing, half of doing this and being in a band is just managing egos and personalities and being in stressful situations with travel and things like that. And having your buddies with you makes it better.
Yeah, and it's great to say, and it should be known, anybody who's listening to the podcast, like you and Woody, like you said, you guys are all still brothers. This is not it was just a matter of just tough life on the road. It wasn't any sort of acrimony. It was just
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I see him all the time. We just did the Mountain Song Festival here in Brevard a couple weeks ago in early September. And he and another guy put that festival on, or the promoters for that festival, and he played with his wife Shannon. And so we all still love Woody. We see Woody, see him at the grocery store or whatever in town. And we actually still play gigs together. Like we'll still play little local bluegrass gigs and things like that. And it was definitely no like hard feelings or parting of ways because there was some disagreement about, the music or with the career path. It was just, he just wanted to be with his family more and not travel. And, you gotta respect that.
Absolutely. And you guys travel a lot. I mean, since post-COVID, man, you guys have played some killer gigs, like just killer events, killer gigs, festivals. You guys have been working it, still playing with Steve Martin and Martin Short too. It's so great, man.
Yeah, those guys, man, they just don't quit. Those guys just keep on playing. We've been playing with Steve Martin since I think 2008, and then Martin Short started. We started doing the comedy show where it became the Martin Short and Steve Martin thing. I think in 2015 or something like that, or 16. And every year since then, or every year we've been doing this with those guys, we think, okay, well that was fun. That was the last year they're gonna tour. No, and then they book shows again. And we're already booking shows again for next year. So it's a fun thing to get to do. It used to be a larger part of the shows that we would play throughout the year, especially when Steve was doing the banjo show before Martin Short was in it. It was a music show with Steve doing mostly banjo tunes. I mean, we were playing a lot of dates, 50, 60, 70 shows a year with Steve. And now these guys do like 30 or 40, and we can't do all of them, but we do most of them. They kind of try to work around our schedule, but sometimes we've got a festival or a big show that we want to play. And so they'll get other people to fill in when we can't do it, but it's a lot of fun.
I was just talking with Will Kimball. He was one of the luthiers that was at the Monroe camp. And
nice.
Oh yeah, him and Paul Duff got to meet the guy who built my mandolin. It was so cool, man.
Very cool.
But we were talking about your mandola, and that might be the most recorded mandola as far as sales, like not a lot of people play mandola, and those Steve Martin records and your records, they've sold some numbers, you know what I mean? So if like you really think about it, that might be the most on record or heard in people's homes mandola.
Gosh, like, do I get like some sort of trophy for that? Most recorded mandola.
Most recorded mandola. It's a plaque. I believe he's mailing it out this weekend.
Well, yeah, I try to use the mandola as much as I can. And actually lately I haven't, just for whatever reason, the tunes haven't called for it as much. But when we were playing a lot of the music shows with Steve, he would write so many tunes in that sort of drop C tuning on the banjo, where his low string is down to a C, which is the same note as the low note of the mandola. And so just the melodies just sort of laid out so nice with that. And then we had Mike on drums. So me doing like a bluegrass chop wasn't always necessary. And, and the groove might've been a little something different and not so traditional. And, so I would try mandola on a lot of that stuff, and it works really well. And I just love it. It's just a nice voice. It fits really well in the band. It's kind of sits in between the banjo and fiddle and the guitar, a little bit. Whereas the mandolin's kind of in that fiddle and banjo range a lot. The mandola can kind of sit just above the guitar, but just below the fiddle. And it's nice.
What'd you use on the album?
When I record, unfortunately I can't do it on the live shows anymore. When I record, I play the lore, but I can't do that live because we're all plugged in with pickups and everything because of the drum kit and the electric instruments. It's just it'd be too loud to have a microphone on the lore. And plus Mike likes to do the little trick where he beats on my mandolin with his drumsticks in the show, and I can't let him do that on the Gibson. Yeah, so I'm using the Kimballs. I've had my Kimball F5 from it's 2004, and I love that mandolin. I mean, it's a great mandolin. And then I have the Kimball Mandola as well, 2-point, and both of them have the K&K pickups in them. And I actually just got this year I've put together a pedal board, which I've never had on stage before. But again, with sort of this new record and the sort of evolving style of the band, there's more texture that the mandolin is doing. And some of it, I try to do things that don't necessarily sound like mandolin. So like I've got a pedal board that's got those tone dexters in it, and I've got one for the mandolin, one for the mandola, and I've got like a A/B switch so I can go between them. And so because we are wireless on stage, which is nice because it gives us a chance to be dynamic with our moving around on stage and things like that. But I've got a couple effects pedals. I got a compressor in there, and I got a reverb and delay, and I've got one of those Strymon Lex pedals.
Yeah, I'm looking at the picture you just sent me. Actually, yeah, what's that do?
Yeah. Sometimes it's easier if you just look at it. It's kind of hard to explain, so I just sent you that picture. But it's like it makes the mandolin sound like a Leslie organ.
Oh wow, really?
Yep. And I have to give credit to my good buddy Phil Barker in Town Mountain. We played a show with them in Asheville a couple years ago, and he had one of those on his pedal board. And I just thought that is the coolest sound, especially when you're playing with drums and, you got Graham over there on the electric, and we're not doing something that doesn't sound like bluegrass at all. To have a keyboard kind of sound on the mandolin, it's really fun. So I've been experimenting with that. Sounds cool on the mandola too, because it's got the deeper sound, and it really works. But not your typical bluegrass sort of mandolin sound.
What's the reamp do? I'm not familiar with that one. That bright yellow one.
So basically, I'm sending a stereo signal now. So I'm taking the reamp on there, and I get really bad at explaining these things, the technical things, but basically with the being wireless and then having a stereo signal, you have to like come in you come in with the one signal, and you're going out with the stereo signal and with the wireless, and that way it can like go back out to the wireless router and wireless setup off stage, and then my pedal board's underneath my mic stand there, but I've got a wireless pack, that I'm wearing on my hip, so I'm not connected to my pedal board. I can walk all over the stage, but then go back to it to change the settings, and when I sing, of course, it's right there.
I just got a wireless setup of like a month and a half ago. It's the best. Like, you can go out and hear all the mixes. It's like, for playing like my type of gigs that I'm playing, smaller gigs, you can go out and see how you sound out front. But man, just the freedom of not having a cable is, it seems ridiculous to say, but it is like a game changer.
It's great, man. It really makes a big difference. And we have a pretty big footprint on stage with the drum kit. We've got 2 risers on either side of the drum kit that I'm on stage left, and the bass Barrett's on stage right. And then we have the 4 guys across the front now. And sometimes I'm like 30 yards away from Nikki, it feels like, on some of these bigger festival stages and things.
Right.
And so it's not, and we use in-ear monitors, of course. And it's nice to be able to walk over to Nikki, in the middle of a song when we've got like a melodic line or something or like a solo trading thing. We can come right to the middle of the stage, meet in the middle of the stage, and like, it just makes for a really nice dynamic. And that's just something we started doing a long time ago, and we love it. And it's kind of become part of our show to be wireless, just to move around like that. I think it's interesting for the audience than maybe just standing in a line, on a microphone and playing and singing. It adds another dynamic.
Yeah, you guys are a great live band. I'm going to imagine that with this new album, you guys are going to be doing a lot of touring coming up here. So I would highly recommend going to see you live.
Yeah, we've got a busy schedule this fall, all the way through December, really. This summer, it really has felt like things have sort of gone back to quote unquote normal, with as far as the volume of touring and the amount of people that are coming out to shows and the attendance at the festivals and the venues has been sort of felt. I think people have felt like it's safer to go back out, and it's been great. It's been really nice to do it again. And with this new record coming out, and Aaron getting really comfortable in the band, feels like it's really come together now after Aaron's been in the band for over a year now. And we're just excited for people to hear what we're doing. We're really excited about what's happening with the band right now.
I'm so happy that it's working out too, because I can't imagine like the amount of pressure putting out an album, and it's amazing. It's a great release. You guys should be super proud of it.
Well, thanks. Yeah, we're really happy about it, and we're already as it is with most bands, probably we're already thinking about the next one. And like I said, we had so many songs on the chopping block for this record. So there's what does Mike call them, like the lost kids or something, the ones that didn't get picked. He's like, we've got all these great songs that we loved, and we just didn't put them on this record. So they'll have to go on the next one.
There you go. The Morning Shift. How did you pick the name?
Morning Shift is the title of. It's not the opening track, but it's the title of one of the tracks. Morning Shift is one of the songs Graham wrote.
Good intentions, critters that should have looked both ways. Even worse than a bad decision, never deciding anything.
That's one of my favorite songs that we play. It's fun to play live, and Graham's playing his electric banjo on that, and it's got a bit of like a a Dire Straits sort of groove on it, you know, and it was really fun to record that one, and it's really fun to play live. And there's the album cover. On the album cover, Morning Shift, the picture on the front is the Inn at Bat Cave where we recorded the record, and the photographer got a great photo of like a pre-dawn sort of photo of the inn. It's really cool picture.
Well, man, any other things you've been working on, or any beer? Have you tried any new beers when you've been on the road? Discovered any new beers?
Gosh, you know, I haven't discovered any new beers on the road, but man, the beer in Brevard now has gotten to be really good. You know, you used to have to go to Asheville to get good beer. Brevard's about 30 miles outside of Asheville, and there's several breweries now in Brevard, and they're all really good. We've got Acoustic Brewery here. We've got Brevard Brewing Company. We've got Oscar Blues. We've got I think my favorite now is there's a venue in town, a music venue called 185 King Street that I play a lot of local shows at. And the owner of that venue is a brewer too. And there's a brewery in the venue, and his name's Cody Noble, and it's called Noble Brow Brewery. And man, he makes the best Pilsner I've ever had.
Oh, wow.
It's really fantastic.
I got to get back up there, man.
Yeah, it's been really cool to see the beer thing sort of grow here in our little town. As it is, I know it's kind of doing that all in a lot of places across the country, but yeah, some great beer here. Have you been to the 185 King Street when you were here?
You know what? I saw
venue?
yeah, when you guys did your Italian night there.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I couldn't remember. It's a great club, and Maddie and Cody that run it have done a great thing. And, you know, Travis Book from the infamous String Dusters lives here in Brevard, and he does a great Tuesday night concert series there where he brings people in from all over the country. Great artists, people you've had on your podcast. They come through when they're touring in this area, and he has them come in on Tuesday night and he does this Travis Book happy hour where he interviews them for his podcast, and it's been a really, really cool thing for the community.
Oh, that's great.
Actually getting ready to do one pretty soon coming up. So.
Oh, awesome, man. Well, Mike, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, buddy. Thank you so much for doing the podcast again.
Yeah, man, it's good to talk to you again. It's like I said, I think it's been a couple years since we've done this, and
yeah, I think it was right when the Italian album came out.
Hopefully Barrett and I will be able to get back into the studio and do another Italian record soon. And we're definitely have a lot of the material put together, and that's something that's a goal of mine in the next year or so. I want to try to record another record.
Oh, awesome. And a lot of people loved it. You know, everybody I talked to had heard it was just like, it's incredible. So yeah, I would love to hear another one.
Yeah, thanks. Well, you know, you learn a lot when you do those things for the first time. That was the first time I had made a record of Italian music, and I definitely learned a lot. And I think the next one could be even better. So I'm excited about it.
Well, man, congratulations on everything. The new baby, the new album, touring. It's just great, man. I'm so happy for you, buddy.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much to Mike Guggino for doing the podcast again. One of the nicest guys in the business. Thanks to everybody for listening. Hope to see y'all at IBMA. Cheers, everybody.